Taz. So thrilled to see everybody, and hello to my Instagram family. I'm going to step on over here and say hello to everybody joining me on Facebook and YouTube as well. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday night to join me. We have got so much to talk about every Sunday night. I feel like I'm having trouble getting it all in. But for those of you who are new to me, I'm Dr. Taz. I'm a board certified wellness and integrative medicine physician. I've had my practices here in the Atlanta area for over a decade, Center Spring MD, and have had the privilege and the opportunity to see over 12, 13,000 patients through my integrative practice, and really am determined to bring you guys all solutions, expand your toolbox, and help you all think holistically and out of the box, and help us to merge medicine together, because really that's the future, and that brings us all into our power. So without further ado, let's jump right into this Sunday night. I see some familiar faces. Hello, how are you guys doing? And if you've been with me before on these Sunday night episodes, you know that I like to begin with a quote. So let's jump right in. Here's my quote for today. And I think this is relevant to world events. That's the reason I picked this. So, weak people revenge, strong people forgive, and intelligent people ignore. Why am I picking that particular quote tonight? Well, on this Sunday night, that is our call as we're seeing a country divided, as we're seeing a globe divided over issues that range from how to treat COVID and how not to treat COVID, whether we should or should not go back to school, and whether we should or should not wear a mask. Lots of debate, lots of confusion. Let's break it down tonight. Here we go. All right, we're going to start with the numbers. Hello to everybody, by the way. I'm seeing so many familiar faces. Hope you guys are all doing well. And if you get a chance as I'm going through the next 30 minutes, one of the things I love to do is know where all of you are from. So if you stick your city or your country in there, and I'll shout it out occasionally when I can, because again, nothing makes me happier than creating a global community where we all come together on this issue of merging medicine together to find our power. All right, the numbers, here's where they stand here in the United States. We have 3.6 million cases of COVID, in case you didn't know what I was talking about. And we've had 138,000 deaths. That's about a 3.8% death rate. But the majority of those deaths are in people that have had one or two other comorbid conditions. So keep that in mind. They've had a couple of other illnesses, and those are the ones having the toughest time with this particular virus. All right, we're going to go right into the headlines. Wearing a mask. Many of you know that I'm sitting here in Atlanta, Georgia, where our governor sued our mayor over the mask mandate, saying it can't be a law. Well, I don't want to get into the legal part of it or the political part of it. I'm just going to talk the science. And the science tells us that wearing a mask is an appropriate preventive measure when we're talking about COVID-19. And it is protective for a number of reasons. And it might even be a solution when we are thinking about something like the flu, because a lot of these viruses are airborne and they spread very easily. COVID-19 spreads very, very quickly. And so that's the reason why wearing a mask is helpful. You're protecting yourself, but you're also protecting the person you're interacting with. A mask may not have been as necessary if we didn't have such a high rate of asymptomatic carriers. That's right, folks walking around not knowing they have COVID, being exposed to it, maybe not sure they were exposed to it, and then interacting with one another and the virus spreading. So while, again, this is not about fear or alarm or concern, because the point of all of my sessions is going to be the tremendous amount of power that you have in your hands to control this virus and to control your health. But more importantly, wearing a mask is more about respect for one another, really reaching out to one another and making sure we're protecting not only ourselves, but the person that we may be interacting with. I did pull a study. This is out of the Lancet Public Health. This was talking about, I'm sorry, no, this one's more about testing. We got to talk about that too. But this is out of Ohio State University, saying similar to the smoking ban, where wearing a mask is just something that we do and it's considered abnormal to not, and it's also considered disrespectful to not. So I would encourage you guys, no matter where you stand politically, I can't believe this particular virus has become a political issue, but wherever you stand politically and wherever you are, we know that wearing a mask has worked. It's worked in some of the Asian countries and in East Asia. It's helped us, and it's worked to reduce the spread and to get some of these numbers under control. And here it's talking very much, so there was another article talking very much about just protecting our workers, because when we're not wearing masks and we're interacting with people in the service industry or retail, or any of these where there's that element of human contact, we are putting those workers at risk as well. And so just like we ban smoking and we ban so many other things in public places, this is something we're just going to have to take seriously, whether it is or is not a law. Do it out of respect, do it out of science, do it out of caring for the person standing across from you. This is an airborne illness, and we want to take it seriously and wear a mask. All right. So that's my 2 cents on wearing a mask. Hopefully that's helpful. I got a lot of questions, by the way, on my page about, do kids need to wear a mask? Why do they need to wear a mask? And I just think, again, just like we teach them to wash their hands, wearing a mask becomes an important part of this conversation as well. All right. So masks are important. And I agree. Somebody's commenting that we should have enforced masks early on. I absolutely agree. Those should have been on a part of our overall game plan right in the beginning. And who knows, maybe we wouldn't have been in this situation where we are at the moment. All right. By the way, there are folks from everywhere: Detroit, Noonan, Rochester. Let's see. We have a couple people in from Florida. Where else? I saw some other fun places too. Where else is everybody from? Atlanta, of course. We got somebody from Ohio, Michigan. Hello to everybody. And I hope you guys are all staying safe and doing well and hanging in there for sure. All right, let's keep going. We've got more stories to cover. We talked about the mask dilemma. What about going back to school? Ready to touch that one with a 10-foot pole here. Let's start the debate. How do you guys feel about your kids going back to school? I have continued to say yes, and here's the reason why. We have multiple studies published from the American Academy of Pediatrics and in the Journal of Pediatrics, along with researchers and education professionals around the world who talk about the importance of kids being back in school, that they learn best when they're back in school, that they need the social and emotional interaction. Learning is not just memorization. Learning is there's a lot of different aspects to learning. However, in the sort of a climate of a surge is what I'm trying to say, then some of that needs to be reconsidered. I posted, it's on my Instagram channel, it's also on YouTube, a pretty long webinar on back to school and my thoughts about a lot of that and what I'm thinking when I'm saying yes with precautions: hand washing, wearing a mask, social distancing, being aware of identifying kids that are getting sick and then pulling them out. But long story short, the reason I am saying yes is because the rate of transmission kid to kid, when we look globally, is not that high. In fact, it's incredibly rare. We've got some studies that we'll look at in just a minute that talk about that. In addition to that, kid to kid and kid to adult transmission is incredibly rare. It is a minority. It is not the majority. And it's very important for everybody to remember that, because I feel like the media and our political leaders want us to focus on the negative. So yes, if there's a surge, there is a concern. Our children could be asymptomatic carriers, right? And what are we supposed to do when we don't know when they have symptoms or not? So again, I get it when there's a surge. 2 weeks is enough. We don't need to shut places down for 8 weeks and 10 weeks and 12 weeks. And I want to ask you this: with everyone doing virtual schooling, how in the world are people supposed to work? I mean, I have support at home, but I still have had a horrible spring with 2 kids, middle school kids on Zoom. I can't imagine kindergartners on Zoom and elementary school age kids on Zoom. I think it's a total farce, and we need to get these children back in school. So wear your mask, wash your hands, and third, take care of your immune system. COVID, guys, is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It is a coronavirus. It's a cold virus, and it is here to stay, and it may mutate, but it is a super spreader, and we have got to learn to build our body's defenses to fight it rather than living in fear and trying to hide from it. So that's my stance on it, and I'll continue to say that as we move forward. Okay, so let's keep going here. We've got a lot of different studies, and some of them are related. Okay, let's talk first about kids, since we're talking about back to school. So we've got an article, I believe this was published in Science Magazine, talking about the confusion, right, about kids going back to school or not going back to school. I had some data here. I thought you'd find it interesting. The CDC says 175,000 roughly cases have been confirmed in kids age 17 and under as of Friday, accounting for roughly 6% of all confirmed cases. The number of kids who have been infected but not confirmed is probably higher, but they have mild or no symptoms and are less likely to get retested. One early study examining infections of children comes from Wuhan Hospital, the origins of the outbreak, right? There they found of 171 children there, most had relatively mild illness. One died, 3 needed ICU, and the most worrisome was that 12 had x-ray evidence of pneumonia, but nothing more. Guys, that sounds like the flu. It's very similar to what we see in the flu. A CDC study involving 2,500 children published that same month in April echoed those findings. About 1 in 5 infected children were hospitalized versus 1 in 3 children. A total of 3 children died. So we don't want any deaths, right? 0 deaths is what we're after. But at the end of the day, when we're trying to establish what the risk is for our children, it is very similar to the flu. It's not that different. And we do need to continue to educate both parents, children, and teachers about what it really means to take care of your immune system and how to stay healthy. Again, I have a lot of this information in the resources on my website. You can check out the Back to School Guide, which I've just linked on Instagram. There is the link in the bio. It goes into a lot of this. There's an immune support guide. These are all free resources, by the way. There's an immune support guide as well, which you can download and take a look at to really help you understand the immune system. That hopefully will help keep you healthy and the folks you love healthy as well. So take a look at all of that and we'll go from there. This study is talking about that commentary in Pediatrics released on July the 10th. Talking about children infrequently transmit COVID-19 to each other or to adults, provided they follow appropriate social distancing guidelines and take into account rates of transmission in their community. And they can, and they're talking about schools, they can and should open in the fall. All right, so that's the school story. And lots of resources, again, on drtaz.com, pointing you in the right direction to help you get your children ready for school, and hoping and praying that virtual school will just be a very short period of time and most of us will be back in regular school. All right, what's blocking us from opening up the schools? Testing. Guys, testing is a major issue. And I want to bring this up. We've had multiple cases of folks I know, patients who think they may have COVID and go to get testing, but they're not getting test results back for 7 to 10 days. At that point, what's the point? You know, they really have already been out and about. They already have probably infected or passed it on to somebody else. And the speed of testing, according to this Lancet study released July 16th, is the most critical factor in success of contact tracing strategies to slow COVID-19 transmission. The speed of testing, if it's delayed by 3 days or more after a person develops symptoms, even the most efficient contact tracing strategy can't reduce transmission of the virus. What in the world are we going to do when testing is taking up to 10 days for us to get results? Now, there are some rapid testing centers, and we're seeing more and more of those. Those have been incredibly effective. If you go in and get tested, you get your results back that same night. You know to stay in, to quarantine yourself for the period of 2 weeks, and then get back out there and hopefully let the others know that you've been around to get tested as well. But when we're having to delay for 7 to 10 days, that is pointless, right? It's no point at that. You know, at that point, who knows what you've done and what we can do to sort of mitigate the spread. So testing is an issue. Try to go for rapid testing whenever you can. LabCorp, which we actually even offer at Center Spring MD, has had delays. So we even are looking at how do we get more rapid testing within our own practice, and we're trying to figure that out as well. So we have some promising vendors coming up, and we just need to make sure they are going to do what they say they're going to do, right? That's always a challenge. Okay, moving on, out of testing, out of schools, out of masks. Hopefully none of you have any questions there. By the way, feel free to post your questions as I'm running through these headlines. I feel like it's just, there's so much information. So that's why I'm like talking a mile a minute. But if you guys have questions, post them, and I promise I'll come back to them so we can break it all down. All right, I want you guys to be aware of a couple of other things that I think are incredibly important. First of all, chest x-rays and COVID-19. Guess who's getting affected? It's our minorities. It's our African Americans and Latinos. My sister sort of confirmed this anecdotally. She's a resident in a community hospital, but it's our African Americans and our Latinos that are having the hardest time with COVID-19. Why? Because often they have 1 or 2 other comorbid conditions, or they have more inflammation. And we know more and more that diseases of inflammation impair your body's immune system, the ability of your immune system to fight off infection. Linked to that is yet another study in the American Society of Microbiology talking about obesity and metabolic syndromes are risk factors for the severe complications of influenza and COVID-19. One more on inflammation, and I promise I'll stop using that word. Here we've got aging-associated inflammation may worsen COVID-19 outcomes in older individuals. This is from the American Association for the Advancement of Science. What's the theme here, guys? If you were in my class, I'd be asking you, what is the bottom line? The bottom line here is that inflammation is rampant in society today. It is a huge problem in the United States and probably, honestly, across the globe. Inflammation shows up in so many different shapes, sizes, and forms. It shows up as overweight and obesity. It shows up as cardiovascular disease and hypertension, as autoimmune disease, as cancer, and so many other conditions as well. Even our mental health crisis is a symptom of inflammation. So we know today that inflammation is something that we have got to stamp out. It is a public health crisis and something we have to pay attention to. Now for the good news, and then I'll take some of these questions. I see a question about thyroid and if that raises your risk. The short answer is no, but we'll come back to it, I promise. But now for the good news. A lot of great natural, holistic, anti-inflammatory remedies that help to stem inflammation are now linked in science to helping to fight viruses. I get super excited about this because I've been saying this for years and being called all kinds of names and acting like diet has nothing to do with food. You guys have heard that, right? Or the gut has nothing to do with inflammation. Well, science is proving those points, and it pertains to this global pandemic as well. Here's a study from the Microbiology Society saying that turmeric has antiviral properties. We knew it had anti-inflammatory properties, right? You know, it helped your joint pain. We knew it helped with hormone balance, all these other amazing things. But now we are also learning it has antiviral properties. I'll read to you what it says. It suggests that curcumin affects the immune system in different ways by directly killing the virus before it's able to infect the cell, by integrating with the viral envelope to inactivate the virus, and by altering the metabolism of cells to prevent viral re-entry. Curcumin, my mother-in-law has been talking about it forever. She would actually spoon out a teaspoon of curcumin and mix it with honey and force us all to have it because she was such a believer in it. Here's the proof, guys. Not only an anti-inflammatory, an antiviral, but you guys aren't surprised because you know that inflammation and managing inflammation is key to controlling and managing the immune system. All right, let's move on to something else. CBD oil. How many people have tried CBD oil? Raise your hand. Oh, I can't see you. Let me know if you've tried CBD oil. CBD or cannabis, right, from marijuana or hemp plants without the THC is an anti-inflammatory. We've actually been using it in practice as an anti-inflammatory, and it's been incredibly successful. But from my alma mater, right from the Medical College of Georgia in Augusta, which is where I went to medical school, believe it or not, they're finding that cannabis oil or CBD helps to reduce the cytokine storm and excessive lung inflammation that's killing many people with COVID-19. So CBD is something we should be using and thinking about as well. All this stuff we've been using in practice at Center Spring MD for different conditions and to mitigate inflammation, now playing a role in CBD in COVID-19. They're saying acute respiratory distress is a major killer in severe cases of respiratory viral infections, including SARS-CoV-19, and we have an urgent need for better intervention and treatment strategies. And here they found that CBD oil or CBD therapy can help to allow the lungs to heal a little bit more rapidly. I was curious to see if they gave a dose. Let me see if I can find a dose in here or how they gave it. But they talk about cytokine storm, which is something that I've talked about with you guys for a while now, which is where the body's immune system starts to take over, right? So you get a virus or you get whatever, invader comes into the system. If your T cell mediated immunity is in the right place, which again, quiz time, what keeps that in the right place? The right diet, the right nutraceuticals, the right supplements, getting consistent sleep and managing your stress. And you're able to wipe that thing off without any issues. If on the other hand, you are compromised, you have inflammation, you're not eating well, you're stressed, you're not sleeping, then a virus can progress on to cytokine storm where the whole body starts to take over and react, and then you have multi-organ sort of involvement. So CBD oil and turmeric, two new findings in the fight against COVID-19 that I think are super exciting. All right, I'm not seeing a ton of questions. You guys don't have a lot of questions today. We have a couple of minutes left. Exciting stuff for me. I wanted to fill you in on. So in my world, the East-West Way launched, and I am thrilled about it. I think it's such an appropriate time too, but the East-West Way has its own website. It has its own Instagram page. Go check it out. You can follow along. We'll be posting more content and specials there as well. But the East-West Way is all about merging the best of Eastern and Western medicine together to get solutions that work. And what we're seeing here is a classic example where something like turmeric that is deeply ingrained in Ayurvedic medicine is now going to be a Western strategy. So check it out, theeastwestway.com. And on there, we've got the Defender for immune support, Boost for energy, Sleep Savior to help you sleep, Hormone Helper, which should be out soon again. I tried to reformulate that, and I'll talk more about that in the future. And then Lush Locks to help you keep your hair healthy. All right, I'm getting questions about turmeric. Turmeric can be in the raw or in the pill form, but when we are trying to medicate or use it against inflammation, then you want to get at least 2 to 3 grams a day for adults and 500 milligrams to a gram for children. Again, it does come in a pill form, but you can also take turmeric and mix it in your tea. We talk about golden milk, where you take a teaspoon of turmeric, like 1 to 2 teaspoons, and mix it in some almond milk and add a little bit of honey to that and warm it up. It comes out like a yummy, delicious drink. Or you can, my Belly Fix, by the way, that has turmeric in it as well. And I'm just mixing that in warm water with a little bit of honey. And all of that, those are all different ways to take it, or you can just swallow a pill. Totally up to you. I'm getting asked about brands of turmeric. There are a lot of brands out there. I like Banyan Botanicals. I use that in the practice, and they've got a long history in terms of high quality Ayurvedic products. So we like that as well. Again, it's in the East-West Belly Fix if you want to take it in that form. Gaia is a reputable brand too. I feel like a lot of their products I feel pretty good about, and they work. I feel like they work really well. So those are a couple of brands. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, I'm getting a couple of questions, and let me just make sure I don't want to. Okay, we'll hold that for a second. Let's see. Let's take some of these questions. We are getting a question. Flory, how are you? If someone was around someone who is positive, do you recommend they quarantine for 2 weeks, even if they get a negative test result? Knowing they get a test a day or two after they saw them, which may be too soon. Curious. So yeah, the whole quarantine thing is incredibly confusing and frustrating. I think if you were simply exposed to somebody, I think quarantining is a little bit excessive. I think if you have symptoms, you quarantine. If you have a positive test, you quarantine. But beyond that, I think that all of us would be in quarantine essentially because so many people are walking around as asymptomatic carriers. So that's my recommendation on quarantining. All right, let's see if we've got a couple more questions that I can answer here. All right, Cherise, hope you're well. Hope everyone's doing well out there. I'm getting questions about my hair. Thank you, guys. I don't know if you know my story, but my hair got me into the world of integrative and holistic and functional medicine because I lost a lot of my hair going through residency and going through the entire process of becoming a doctor, and was really checked out on myself, didn't realize what was happening. And my hair loss, which was very slow because I had so much hair that it took a while to notice it, really started to escalate and then turned into a bigger deal. It turned into PCOS, where I had joint pain and weight gain and all this other stuff in addition to just hair loss. And it was my sweet husband and my mom who were like, hey, like something's wrong with your scalp. You need to go get checked out. And that started the journey of studying all these different systems of medicine and trying to understand how to put the pieces of my own health back together, and then led to this incredible journey I've been on since. I was actually in the past in the emergency room and in the more of that type in pediatrics, and in the emergency room, I was more in that type of setting because I loved procedures and I loved seeing different things all the time, but derailed my career once that happened. So now I do a couple of things to keep my hair. I have to be gluten-free to protect my thyroid. I have to watch my iron levels because I can get anemic very quickly. And I use Lush Locks. I truly use it. It's my East-West product. It's a formula that I played with for a really long time. It's patented, by the way. You can find it on the eastwestway.com. but it has a lot of the methylated B vitamins. It has some iodine in it. It has some iron in it, but it has 2 herbs, one from Chinese medicine and one from Ayurvedic medicine that I think are essential for women's health and hormone balance in hair. And it's amla and something called foti. And they both are just incredible antioxidants, purifiers, and they work really well on helping us regain our hair in the context of the others. So that's a classic example of the East-West story. All right, I'm getting asked some supplement recommendations for your children that are going away to college. So for their immune system, try the Defender. They're old enough to take that. That has astragalus, zinc, and vitamin C. You also may want to have them evaluated to understand where their vitamin D and B levels are. Those are important, and I would put them on a probiotic, at least 20 to 50 billion units daily to protect their gut health. Because remember, the gut is a foundational component of the immune system. For zinc, recommendations for zinc include roughly 15 milligrams per day. Again, it is in the Defender. There's a brand from Metagenics I like. That's just a plain zinc. So that's another one you could try as well. But my recommendation for zinc is about 15 milligrams daily to help protect your immune system and thin down kind of the respiratory secretions. We feel like that's the main purpose of zinc. Okay, so hopefully that takes care of that question. Did I miss anything else? We got the hair in. We talked about the immune system. I think we got almost everything in. Okay, I want to talk about, okay, we got one more. As a person with a weakened immune system and diabetes, vitamins you would recommend for a male that is 57 years young. I like that. Defender, astragalus C and zinc, a probiotic to protect your gut. And maybe the majority of my diabetes patients have yeast or candida overgrowth, so something to block candida. It could be Saccharomyces boulardii in your probiotic or something called biocidin that helps to control candida as well. So hopefully that's helpful information. And your diet, guys, makes a big difference. I don't want to skim past the importance of a healthy diet and really watching sugar and watching dairy in particular in the context of a respiratory virus as probably and alcohol. I guess those would probably be the 3 main things to keep your eyes on as you're trying to keep your immune system pumped up and primed so that you don't get this virus. It becomes nothing more than just something that you saw and it moved on. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, the only other things I want to talk about coming up in the week ahead, we are getting ready to launch a 10-day weight loss challenge. It's a 10-day jumpstart. So many folks have been in quarantine or out of quarantine, stressed, experiencing changes, and it's very easy for weight to come on, right? It's very difficult to take it off. So we'll be announcing that 10-day jumpstart. It's going to start next Monday. So we'll be using this week to get everybody prepared. Please join me in that. I'll be doing it as well. It'll be a combination of things I've done in the past with the belly fix and then merging it with newer things like intermittent fasting and then using products too to help us really jumpstart our health and really think about getting healthy again. Because you know what? We are going to get through this and we are going to see our way out of this. And we want to get back to feeling, looking, and being as vibrant as we were hopefully before it. And in some ways, the pandemic has been a gift, right? As some of you have experienced different gifts with it. I know I have too, in terms of, sort of cleaning up stuff and getting really dialed into what I want and where my time needs to go and who needs to be around me and all those other things. So I think there have been incredible gifts with the pandemic as well. But I think the food and the fitness part have been a little bit hard for many people, given the context of being home a lot and not having access to classes and things like that. So we'll be announcing that coming up. So look for some of those announcements. And remember, all the great guides on drtaz.com, the immune guide, all free, back to school guide, the healthy child guide, the weight loss guide, finding your weight loss type, understanding what your type is, and then understanding the mom-child connection. All that is on there. Have fun on there. Explore. Learn more about yourself. I want you guys empowered and understanding your formula, your power type, and the recipe for you. That's going to get you not just through this pandemic, but it's going to get you all the way through being the person that you are supposed to be. All right, here is our parting words. We're at 9:30. See, I kept you for 30 minutes. I talked really fast. If you have questions, please post them below. No mountain can be too strong for a man who will dare to move forward. No matter what the devil of life is throwing at you, tell yourself, I am moving forward. I shall overcome this challenge. That, my friends, is the way forward. And I hope you guys all have a blessed night. I hope you have an amazing week ahead. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay super powered, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.